Okay, and we're going. Okay, so you are now videotaping.
Dude.
Can I have the floor to
And
start?
149 degrees and 162 degrees.
So, quick story on how I first came to know Jeff. It was about 1988, 89, and Alex, you know you have a camera on you, right?
I was looking at Mike.
Okay. Keep the camera on Mike the whole time. That's a great idea. I worked for Jeff, and I was interviewing. He had a carpet cleaning company, and it was Clean to You. Anybody that knows Jeff from back then, he was a very vibrant, energetic person. He was a much bigger guy, but he was full of energy, full of life. And I followed an ad to clean carpets in the newspaper. Sitting in an apartment complex rec hall. First time I ever met Jeff. I'm sitting there, Jeff comes around the corner. The first thought I ever had about Jeff, and he was laughing and he had the smile on his face, sweating from cleaning carpets. I thought to myself, this guy wears baldness well. And he did, and he looked good bald. And we talked about that many times over the years.
John, how long ago was this?
This would have been about 1988, 89, right in that ballpark. So I knew, I mean, the second I saw Jeff, I knew I liked the guy, right? You can sometimes that happens. So I worked for him for a few months, I'm sorry. Time moved on, and I kind of moved on from Jeff. We had a great time working together, and some months went by, and I was in a Fry's, and I bumped into Jeff, and hey buddy, how you doing? And call me sometime. Great, of course. And I left, didn't talk to him for a while. I was out at my mom and dad's house. There was a bar called Spook Hill Sports Bar. I've been there a grand total of one time in my whole life. Jeff was there a grand total of one time in his whole life. We were there that night, on whatever night it was, we bumped into him. Stan was there, another friend of ours, and it was like it was meant to be. All of a sudden, from that moment on, in about 1988, 89, Jeff and I became friends, and I'm like, all right, I guess it's meant to be. Jeffrey, I'll give you a call. We ended up, you guys know, everybody here has traveled with this guy, done tons of things with this guy, been all around the world with this guy, been to 16, this would have been 16 space camps with this guy. I've been to Europe, Alaska, Washington, his house. I'm an honorary Fat. Little did I know, when I met this guy cleaning, working for him, and we traveled the world together, and you couldn't have a better friend than Jeff. And everybody here knows how vibrant Jeff was back in that day. And I just want to, and I'll be done, and I'll turn the floor over to Mitch or whoever. I just want to tell a couple of stories of that would kind of define Jeff and Jeff's sense of humor. There's two things. Jeff, of all the places he and I traveled around the world, and there were many of them. By the way, Jeff and I have been through heaven and hell together. That guy stood by me through all of it. He would call me every single day of my life, and no matter what happened, Jeff was always there for me. Couldn't ask for a better, truer friend than Jeff Fatt. Three quick stories. First one, we were in Vegas. I'm at the end of the craps table. I look over at Jeff. Jeff loved life. Jeff was always laughing, always happy. Jeff's got this big stupid grin on his face. We're at a craps table, something that he loved to do. You know, because you've been there with us. I don't know why Jeff's laughing. Finally, he can't take it anymore. He comes running up to me, and he points to the end of the table. And at the other end of the craps table is this, mentally challenged individual laying over a pile of yak on the craps table like this. And of course, I'm laughing now too. The stick man takes a stick and starts hitting the guy in the chest to move away from the table. Jeff and I coined the term yak, no yak. So over the years, anytime we went to Vegas, we always thought of the yak, no yak bet. It pays about 1,000 to 1. Go up to a craps table, put your money down, somebody throws up on the table, you win 1,000 to 1. I'll never forget Jeff's face. That is similar to 1,000,000 times with that big, fat, funny smile on that guy's face. I've seen it 1,000,000 times. Another Vegas story, which by the way was our favorite place to go, Las Vegas. Loved. I've probably been there with Jeff probably 25 times. Of all the places we went on this earth, we never got more enjoyment than going to Las Vegas, Jeffrey and I together. I was there on your 21st birthday. You had a nice run, beginner's luck. I believe in it.
I'm good at throwing, that's it.
You rolled the dice. I don't know if you knew what you were doing, but you made me a couple of $100. Thank you. I was there on your 21st birthday in Vegas. Loved it. We walked into whatever bar, in whatever casino, on whatever day, sat down to wet our whistle and have a beer. And this wasn't so funny at the time, and it's not a funny joke. What makes it funny is if you know Jeff, you can appreciate him saying this. So these two working girls, and we're in this little, bar in the middle of a casino. They're pretty girls. They're obviously prostitutes. They're working. Jeff goes, oh, he's a friendly guy. He's always striking up a conversation. Hi, I'm Jeff. This is my friend John. What's your names? This is a true story.
This is great.
She says, oh, real snooty. I'm 500. This is my friend 750. Jeff pauses. He takes a sip off of his beer, and he says, let me know when your friend 75 gets here. And I don't even know if we laughed at the time, but I've told that story.
Oh, I think it's great. It's
I've told that
classic.
story
Yeah,
400
it's
times.
great. First time I heard it.
This is my last story, and I'll move on. We were golfing. One of my golf partners right here, and this guy, and everybody here has done a ton of things with Jeff. And Paul used to make the joke that Jeff would be the last of the line. We've been all over the world, walking to wherever, tour, restaurant, going to a place, wherever that might be. Jeff always brought up the rear, even hiking. If we were on the way to the buffet, he was leading the line. True story again. So I'll end with this quick story. We were golfing. It was Jeff and I, and there was two other people. It was two twosomes. They hooked these nice gentlemen up with Jeffrey and I, and we're out and we're playing Rio Salado. And we get into hole 4 or 5, and Jeff gets stuck in a sand trap. Jeff was not the greatest golfer. He adapted his body weight and style to this golf swing, and he learned to hit the ball somehow. Mm-hmm. And so we get to about the 4th hole. Jeff ends up in the sand, and the sand's about this deep. And me and these other two gentlemen that they hooked us up with are trying to be polite. I'm sitting there watching Jeff. He gets in the sand. He picks up his sand wedge, and I'm looking from over there at Jeff. Jeff's in the sand about this. The ground's about this level. He's down in the sand, and I watch Jeff, and he pauses, and boom, and nothing but sand comes up. So Jeff takes his time. He does it again. Boom, nothing but sand. Ball's still down there. Jeff, boom, sand, club, boom, 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 on the ground. Hits and starts smashing the ground. I fall to the ground laughing. These other two guys that they hooked us up with they're trying to be polite, and they're just sitting there. I don't know what they were thinking. I'm rolling on the ground. We go to the very next hole. Jeff ends up in the sand. Same thing. I'm watching him ground that high. Jeff's in the sand. First swing, sand. Second swing, sand. Sand. Boom, 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 boom. Never touched the ball. That illustrates Jeff, and I swear to God, I love this guy like a brother. And these two other guys that they hooked us up.
But he still got a bogey.
Oh, that's
Somehow, right.
Creative scorekeeping.
Single
Creative
bogey.
scorekeeping. So Mitch and Mike, we played golf for many years. Jeff and I showed up. We had a competition. We would play a scramble, and it would be Jeff and I against Mitch and Mike. We showed up one year with T-shirts that said "Beat Mitch and Mike." Probably still have that shirt. Jeff wore that shirt forever. Slept in that shirt for years. Then one day, after that, we show up, and I'm getting ready to tee off. As fate would have it, I needed a tee. Mitch goes, John, you need a tee? Yeah, I did. He hands me a tee. It says, beat John and Jeff. So I've got a billion stories I could tell, and I'll relinquish the floor. But I just want to say that, Jeff was a brother to me, and these guys welcomed me into this guy's family. Is that where he is? Where are you, Jeff? Over there? As a brother, and there's never been a more. Jeff's the best friend anybody could have ever asked for. He was there with me through heaven and hell. Quick story. I know it's my last one. When you guys were young, you were not even 1. You were hanging on my leg, and you're 3? And I remember calling to your dad, Jeff, get your kid off my leg. First time I remember meeting you guys. Now here you are, freaking both of y'all successful teacher, wonderful, beautiful families, making tons of money, wonderful life, blah, blah, blah. one of the greatest honors in my life is to be a part of this guy's family. I'm an honorary Fatt, and I couldn't be more proud. So thank you for everything.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
I'll just tell a quick story. The day Jeff died, I didn't know until later in the day when John sent a message on Facebook saying, how sad he was to relate this news. That morning I was checking my emails, and I never get LinkedIn messages. I don't even know my password anymore. That's the same thing I think you said. It said, please wish Jeff Fatt happy anniversary for 8 years at Financial Engines. I thought, what is that doing in my email? I don't even get emails from LinkedIn. It was something paranormal, because then later learned he passed away, and I just thought that was Jeff making that happen. So
I
goodbye,
believe it,
Jeff.
Thomas.
We loved you, that's for sure. Still do.
My favorite thing is we're in Waianae, and we're like that far in the water, right? I mean, maybe.
Scuba diving
No, remember? And Jeff fell in the water.
in Hawaii.
Yeah, in Hawaii. That
He
deep.
couldn't get out.
He couldn't get out. And me and Dee Dee were like, just looking at him. He couldn't get out of the water. And then the lifeguard comes back and goes, no, he's all right. No, he's drowning.
He's drowning in 1 foot of water.
That reminds me of a story. This was our craziest space camp. We had a windstorm. This was up on a mountain just north of Flagstaff. And everybody's tents are blowing down on their heads and everything. And Jeff's tent was collapsed on him. And we hear this, help, nobody is helping me.
Nobody's helping me. And where that came from, we were on a scuba diving trip in San Diego, roughest waters I've ever been in on a dive.